I've always been a little superstitious about the ocean. Maybe it's the way black folks joke. Ain't nothing out there for us but trouble and sharks. But when my sister surprised me with a Caribbean cruise for my 35th birthday, I decided to swallow my nerves and just enjoy myself. I mean, how often do you get a free trip on a luxury liner, right? By the third night, I wished I'd listened to my gut. The ship was massive, gleaming white, 10 stories tall, all glass elevators and endless buffets. From the moment we boarded, the air buzzed with excitement. Every face looked ready for fun. Old couples with fanny packs, honeymooners, whole families in matching shirts. My sister and I joked about the Titanic selfies people were taking at the bow. But that first night, as we explored the decks, I kept hearing something strange, like a distant metallic banging from below. I chalked it up to the engine. Ships make noise, right? As I leaned over the railing, a loud clang sounded right beneath me. I jolted and almost dropped my phone. My sister laughed it off, but something about it left me uneasy. The next afternoon, we decided to explore the lower decks. The elevators only went to deck 3, but a crew door stood open nearby. My sister dared me to sneak down. So, giggling like kids, we slipped through and found ourselves in a silent, dim hallway lined with staff cabins. A sudden loud echoed from the far end, making us freeze. I laughed, trying to play it cool, but my heart hammered. Then the lights flickered, just for a second. That's when I noticed something. A trail of wet footprints leading from a utility closet down the hall. The prints were small, barefoot. My sister whispered, "Let's get out of here." And we ran back up to the party deck, our laughter a little forced. By day 3, the mood shifted. At breakfast, we overheard a crew member whispering, someone in cabin 412 hadn't been seen since boarding night. His phone and wallet were in his room. The staff assured everyone it was probably seasickness, but I saw a crew member quietly taping off the door. That evening at the casino, my sister vanished for half an hour. When she returned, her face was pale. "You remember those wet footprints?" she said. "I just saw a little girl standing outside the elevator, barefoot, soaked to the skin. She looked right at me and said, 'She's in the water now.' Then she just slipped away." I laughed it off, but her hands were shaking. That night, I woke to scratching. It sounded like nails dragging across metal, coming from inside the vent above my bed. I tried to wake my sister, but she was out cold. When I finally built up the nerve to get out of bed, the vent cover creaked open a hair, and something pale darted behind it. My phone buzzed violently with an alert. "Water ingress, deck 1." I dropped it in terror. I called the front desk and they told me it was a malfunction. But when I checked again, the alert was gone, no record of it. Unable to sleep, I left our cabin and wandered. The halls were empty, too quiet for a ship carrying 2,000 souls. I heard the metallic banging again, closer this time. Drawn by dread, I followed it to the end of the hall and found a service stairwell. The door was unlocked. Inside, it reeked of seawater and mold. As I crept down, the banging grew louder. The stairwell ended at a small steel door. I pushed it open. Something slammed into the door from the other side, knocking me back. Through the porthole, I saw a face, a man's wide-eyed and waterlogged, mouthing, "Help," before being dragged out of sight by something unseen. I scrambled back upstairs, heart racing, and collided with a crew member. Her eyes hollow, voice deadpan. "You shouldn't be down here," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. "Go back to your room. Pretend you didn't see anything." But as she turned away, I saw something that made my blood freeze. The hem of her uniform was soaked, and she left wet footprints as she walked. Back in our cabin, I woke my sister and tried to explain. She thought I was sleep deprived. That's when the power cut out. Total darkness except for the red emergency lights. Over the intercom, static crackled. Then a voice.
All guests remain in your cabins. Do not open your doors for anyone. This is not a drill.
We huddled together, listening to the distant sound of running footsteps. Bare, slapping wetly against tile. Then, outside our door, someone whispered,
Help me.
The door handle jiggled violently, then stopped. The next morning we tried to disembark at the first port, but the captain announced the ship was under quarantine. No one could leave. More passengers were missing now, vanished overnight. Some said they'd seen shadows moving in the pools, hands reaching up from the water, faces pressed against portholes. I looked down from the deck and saw something that made my knees buckle. A trail of bubbles rising from the deep, far below. And in the water, pale faces watched the ship, waiting. By our final night, most people stayed in their rooms. The hallways were silent. My sister and I barricaded our door. But at 3 a.m., I heard that metallic banging again, right outside. We waited, breath held, as footsteps sloshed past. Then suddenly, our bathroom flooded, ice-cold water pouring from the vent. Something pale and small slithered out, its eyes meeting mine. The little girl from before, mouth opening impossibly wide, reached for me and whispered,
It's your turn.
When I woke, daylight streamed through the porthole. The ship docked, and the nightmare seemed over. But as we staggered onto the pier, I turned back for one last look. There, on the deck, stood the missing passengers, soaked, hollow-eyed, waving goodbye. And behind them, the little girl, her smile cold and empty, mouthing,
See you soon.
I haven't slept through the night since, and every time I hear water running, I remember. On the ocean, not everyone who vanishes is lost. Sometimes,
The abyss comes looking for you.
you ever take a 911 call and the person on the other end shouldn't be able to speak, like medically, legally, physically? Yeah, this story's about that night. The night I learned some calls don't come from the living. It was a Thursday. Pouring rain, thunder loud enough to rattle the filing cabinets behind me. I was halfway through a long shift at the county dispatch center. Just me, stale coffee and static on the police band. Small town, not much action, until 2:41 a.m. The screen lit up. Incoming call, County Road 16. I picked up like usual. 911, what's your emergency? Static. Then this low crackling, breathing on the other end, like someone was just holding the phone. No talking, just breathing. I asked again, hello, this is 911, do you need help? And then, finally, in a soft, hoarse whisper, he's still in the house. I'm immediately alert now. The voice sounded broken, like this woman was speaking through blood in her mouth. I asked her name, location. She keeps whispering. He knows. I tried to run. Please, send someone. But here's the weird part. When I pulled up the address from the system, it says the property on County Road 16 burned down 6 years ago. Abandoned. Destroyed. One confirmed fatality. A woman named Denise Rowley. Murdered-suicide. Husband killed her, set the house on fire, and died with her inside. But this voice sounded like her. I radioed the nearest officer, Ramirez, who's out near that area. I tell him what I heard. Even though it sounds crazy, he chuckles at first, thinks it's a prank.
You want me to drive out to the ash heap where the guy torched his wife?
But I'm not laughing. I heard real fear in that voice. He agrees to check it out. 12 minutes later, he radios back.
Dispatch. You're not gonna believe this.
Ramirez pulls up to the old lot. He describes it to me. Scorched trees, the remains of a foundation, rusted mailbox still out front. But here's the thing. There's a light coming from inside the ruins. He says it looks like a lantern. He gets out. I'm listening on the open line, heart racing. Then I hear his breath change. Fast, shaky.
Dispatch. There's a woman here, sitting in the middle of the floorboards. She's burned. But, she's looking at me.
I asked him to repeat himself. And suddenly, his radio cuts out. Dead silence. Then my console crackles to life. Same number, same location. And I hear that voice again. You brought him back, didn't you? Click. Silence. Then, screaming. We lose contact with Ramirez completely. When backup arrives 15 minutes later, they find his cruiser engine running, door open. No sign of him. Just the scorched earth and something new. Fresh boot prints leading into the rubble, stopping right where the fire started. And beside them, an officer's badge, still warm. They never found Ramirez. They filed it as officer disappearance in line of duty. But people around here whisper, especially other dispatchers, because 3 weeks later, the same call came in again. Same voice, same whisper. He's still in the house. That night, my partner had called out sick, and dispatch was stretched thin. I was only 6 months into the force, still on probation, still trying to prove myself. So when the call came in, 309 Rivington Street, welfare check, file order, possible 1054, I responded. Alone. Big mistake. Rivington was one of those streets the city forgot. Rusted mailboxes, boarded up windows, and overgrown yards. The house at 309 looked like it hadn't been lived in for a decade. Paint peeling like scabs, porch light flickering like a bad omen. The call came from a neighbor who said he hadn't seen the old woman who lived there in over 2 weeks. I knocked. No answer. Then I smelled it. The heavy, sweet, rancid smell like rotting meat left in a sealed car during summer. I radioed in. Dispatch, I'm at 309 Rivington. Smells like possible decomp, gaining entry. They cleared me, so I stepped inside. The air inside was worse. Stale. I could hear this faint buzzing, flies, somewhere deeper in. The front door was cluttered, hoarder, level clutter. Dolls, hundreds of them, on shelves, on the floor, hanging from the ceiling with a string. They all had their eyes scratched out. I pushed further in, stepping over doll limbs and yellowed newspapers. Then, thump! Something upstairs, something alive. I froze, heart hammering. Police! If someone here, announce yourself. No answer. The staircase creaked with every step. Halfway up, I spotted dark smears on the railing, dried blood. Upstairs hallway was pitch black. My flashlight barely cut through the thick air. I followed the buzzing. End of the hallway. Bedroom door cracked open. Inside, an old woman sitting in a rocking chair. Head slumped, skin like wax paper, eyes wide open. But that wasn't the worst part. Behind her, a man stood perfectly still in the corner. I raised my weapon instantly. Turn around! Hands where I can see them! He didn't move. I stepped into the room, light shaking. His skin looked off, like plastic. His hands were joined like a mannequin's. Then I realized he was a mannequin. dressed in full police uniform, badge number 1249. My badge number. My heart dropped. I turned to the woman. Her body was fake too. Mannequin. Eyes painted open, mouth sculptured in terror. What the hell was this? Then I found the real source of the smell. In the closet. A woman's body mummified, dressed in a tattered nightgown. Hands clutching something to her chest. I stepped closer and nearly screamed. She was holding a baby doll. Its head was missing and scratched into the wall behind her. No one listens to the dolls. Then all the dolls in the house started making noise. Not crying, not talking, screaming. All of them. Together. I ran. I didn't care what protocol said. Down the stairs, dolls dangling, swinging wildly. One hit me in the face, its mouth full of human teeth. I kicked the door open. Fresh air nearly made me collapse. I radioed back up. 3 other officers showed up. But when they entered, there was no house. Just an overgrown lot. No dolls, no smell, no body, no 309 Rivington Street. They tested me for everything. Drugs, mental evaluation. They even reviewed my dash cam footage. It cut out right after I stepped onto the porch. Static. When they searched city records, 309 Rivington Street was condemned and demolished in 1987. No one lived there. No calls came from the street. They pulled the dispatch logs, no record of the call. And the badge number, mannequin? My badge number changed the next day. Not by request, by order. No one's allowed to wear that number again. Sometimes, in the quiet of the precinct, I hear it. That distant doll scream. Let me tell you something right now. If you ever find yourself in a hospital at 3:17 a.m. and your nurse starts whispering to the IV drip, leave. Don't argue. Don't ask questions. Just go. I didn't. And that's why I'm here, telling you this story with one eye twitching and a soul that smells like burnt wires and antiseptic. I was admitted to St. Audley's Hospital for what should have been a routine overnight observation. Chest pains. Thought it was anxiety. My mama said I was being dramatic, but the left side of my face was numb, and I figured, hey, if Beyonce can survive Coachella, I can survive a damn hospital bed. That was my first mistake. The ER was empty. Not just slow. Empty. No crying babies, no coughing old men, just me, a too small gown, and a nurse with wrists so thin you could snap them like uncooked spaghetti. Her name tag said Nurse Trina, but her voice had the texture of a wet Band-Aid. You're in room 6, she said. Lucky number. I laughed. Tried to be cute. That's your idea of a joke? She blinked once, real slow. No jokes after midnight. Second mistake. I went to room 6 anyway. Room 6 wasn't normal. The lights overhead flickered when I walked in. It smelled wrong. Not like blood or bleach. It smelled like warm pennies and freezer burn, like something had died, been forgotten, then woke up mad. I tried to turn on the TV. Static. I hit the call button. It buzzed once, then hissed, "Don't." Excuse me. I pressed it again. Same hiss. Louder. Angrier. "Don't." That's when I got up to leave, only to find the door was gone. Not locked. Gone. Just a smooth beige wall where it used to be. Okay, so either I was high on hospital drugs, or I had finally stroked out. I looked at the fourth. The bag was empty, but the fluid kept dripping. Drip, drip, drip. That's when it jumped at me. A black hand, thin, trembling like a broken umbrella, came out of the IV bag, straight for my face. I screamed, fell backward, cracked my elbow on the metal rail. The hand vanished. No evidence. Just me. Alone. Gasping like a fish on a frying pan. I said out loud, Jesus, if this is my time, just send me straight to customer service. I'm not doing this Final Destination mess tonight. Then, my vitals monitor flatlined. I wasn't dead, but the machine said I was. That's when Nurse Trina walked in. But something was wrong with her now. She didn't blink. Her mouth didn't move when she spoke. Code black, she whispered, but her voice came from the overhead speakers. Room 6 is awake again. I said, I don't know what kind of freaky-ass Grey's Anatomy spin-off this is, but you better get out my face, Trina. She turned and walked into the wall. Not through a door. Into the wall. Like the Kool-Aid Man in reverse. I ran to the corner. Didn't care my butt was hanging out like a Popeye's biscuit. That's when the bed moved. Not rattled. It rolled. Toward me. And on it was me. But dead. Pale. Eyes rolled back. Lips blue. And then my voice came out of the corpse's mouth. You're the donor. This was always the trade. The body sat up and screamed. Loud. Piercing. Full of my own voice, but deeper. Mangled. Like it had been chewed. And spit back up. I blacked out. I woke up in another room. Sunlight was coming through the window. Nurses were talking about sweet tea and parking tickets. Everything felt normal. They told me I'd suffered a brief psychotic episode. Room 6 didn't exist. They don't even have a room 6. Okay, cool, fine. I went home, took a break, deleted WebMD, all good. Until last night. I got a letter in the mail, no return address. Just a hospital bracelet inside. It read, patient, donor room, 6th procedure, successful. Thank you for your body. I ran to the bathroom to calm down, and my reflection wasn't there. Not a mirror, just a shiny chrome surface. I waved, nothing, but in the corner of the metal, someone else smiled, not me. And behind me, the hiss of a drip.
You ever work somewhere so long the walls start to feel like they're breathing? That's the night I found out what that really meant. I was pulling a double at St. Julian's Hospital, clocking into the graveyard shift with an extra large coffee and a heavy sigh. Night shifts in the ER aren't for the faint of heart, but I figured I'd seen it all. You know how that goes until you haven't. It was 2:14 a.m. when the lights flickered. Not the whole hospital, just in Ward C. That's the oldest wing, barely used since they finished the new tower, but lately administration had been talking about renovations. Problem is, nobody wants to work there. Too many stories, too many weird noises. You know, haunted hospital stuff you tell the new nurses to freak them out. Well, tonight it was my turn. The supervisor radioed in. Can you check the monitors in Ward C? System says there's activity in room 309, I laughed. Ain't nobody assigned in there since January, I said. But I grabbed my flashlight and started heading that way, feeling my sneakers squeak on the polished floor. The farther I went, the quieter it got, like the hospital itself was holding its breath. As soon as I opened the door to Ward C, the smell hit me. Old antiseptic and something coppery, metallic under the surface. Lights above were buzzing, flickering, and the hallway felt wrong. My stomach knotted up, but I kept going. The hospital is my second home. I wasn't about to let some busted light bulb spook me. Passing by empty rooms, I heard something dragging across the floor behind me, stopped, turned around. Nothing but my own shadow stretching long and thin under those ugly fluorescent lights. I reached room 309, heart pounding a little faster. The monitor was on, the screen glowing green, showing vitals, heartbeat, oxygen, everything, like someone was hooked up inside. Only I knew for a fact that room had been empty for months. I pushed the door open slow. The bed was made neat and crisp, but there were footprints, bare, wet, like someone just stepped out the shower. But it hadn't rained all day. I called out, "Hello? Security? Anyone in here?" No answer, but the heart monitor started beeping faster, flatline. Then, a high-pitched whine like something was being sucked out the room. All at once, the monitor shut off. Cold air washed over me, thick as fog. I tried to leave, but the door slammed shut behind me so hard the glass in the window rattled. My flashlight flickered and died. The only light left was that sickly green from the monitor, now showing flat zeros. Then the intercom crackled to life. It was a voice I didn't recognize, whispering, "She never left." Now, I'm not one to scare easy, but something about that voice chilled me to the bone. I stepped back, tripped over the IV stand, and as I hit the floor, I felt cold hands wrap around my ankle. I kicked and scrambled away, breath coming out in cloudy puffs, even though the AC was busted. Suddenly, I saw her, a patient gown, hair hanging in clumps, eyes wide and empty, standing just inside the bathroom door. Her lips moved like she was trying to scream, but nothing came out. The heart monitor started up again, beeping in time with my pulse. She pointed at the ceiling, and for a second I looked up, expecting, I don't even know, a leak or a light about to fall. But it was just that flickering bulb. When I looked back, she was inches from my face. No sound, just that open mouth, and the cold hit me so hard my teeth chattered. Then everything went black. I woke up in the staff lounge with my supervisor shaking me, saying, "You all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." My shoes were wet, pants streaked with something rusty. There was a patient chart tucked under my arm. No name, just a single word. Return. They say I must have fallen asleep doing rounds, but I know what I saw. That room's been sealed off since. Nobody talks about what happened, but every night at 2:14 a.m., Ward C's monitor blips to life, showing a heartbeat that doesn't belong to anyone alive. And sometimes, when it's real quiet, I swear I hear her dragging her feet down the hallway, looking for someone to notice her. So next time you work the late shift, if you hear the monitor in an empty room, don't go checking it alone.
I was the last one in the library, finals week. My third cup of vending machine coffee had gone cold, my laptop had died, my phone was barely alive, and the only light left flickered above me like it was trying to tell me to leave. But I had to pass this exam. No retake, no forgiveness, no future if I failed. That's when I saw her, a girl in the far corner. I swear she wasn't there before. Head down, hair hanging like a curtain, no books, no book bag, just still. I pretended not to see her, but every time I looked up, she was closer, still, silent, closer. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, my vision narrowed, and then her neck cracked sideways, eyes pitch black, lips parting slowly as she whispered,
You started too late.
I screamed, fell out of my chair, but when I looked again, she was gone. I grabbed my things and ran for the exit, but the door wouldn't open. The light snapped off, darkness swallowed everything. Then, spotlights. A desk lit up, a test paper on it, my name on the top. The girl's voice echoed.
If you're smart enough, you'll live alive.
I approached. The pen was red. The questions weren't math or psych. They were personal. Who died in this building in 1989? What's under your bed right now? What will your mother say when you vanish? I couldn't answer. My hands bled as I gripped the pen. The air grew thick. I turned around and saw them. Dozens of students. desk floating, skin gray, eyes hollow, their mouths stitched shut with exam paper. One boy reached out, a piece of paper sticking from his throat. It read, Question 13. Who did you cheat from? I screamed again. The girl appeared behind me, whispering, They failed. Don't be like them. I flipped the test paper to the last page. Only one question. What was the first thing you forgot when you started studying? I stared. Tears blurred the words, my mom's voice in my head. Baby, don't forget to eat. Don't forget to sleep. Don't lose yourself trying to be perfect. I wrote, myself. The page burst into flames. The girl screamed. Her skin cracked open like paper burning. The stitched students cried in silence as they faded into ash. I woke up in the same chair. Morning light pouring through the window. The library was empty, silent. I checked my bag. No test paper. No red pen. But my hand still ached, and a fresh paper clip marked each fingertip. I walked outside, shaky, thought it was over. Then my professor stopped me. You dropped this, she said, handing me a single page. It was my test, perfect score. And scrawled at the bottom in red ink, see you next semester. I thought it was over. But the moment I stepped out of the library doors, the campus was wrong. Too quiet. No wind, no birds. The bell tower struck 3 a.m., but the sound was warped like it rained underwater. Then I saw it, a single red thread tied around my wrist. It hadn't been there before. It pulsed, tightened, and then I tugged it. I saw her again, the girl, standing across the quad, tilting her head, mouthing words I couldn't hear. I ran back to my dorm, slammed the door shut. That's when my roommate, Jasmine, screamed. She pointed at my back. I looked in the mirror. There were answers carved into my skin. Red ink writing, etched like a test key. My flesh was bleeding the answers. She stammered, Did you cheat that? The lights burst, we screamed, and from inside my closet, a soft voice whispered,
You left before finishing. You weren't supposed to leave.
I blacked out, woke up strapped to a chair in the same library, except now the desks were full. The ghost students sat upright, waiting. The girl with a stitched smile stood in front of the class like a teacher. She hissed.
Time for the retake.
My hands moved on their own. The paper in front of me was blank, but the red pen stabbed my fingers, dragging blood across the page. The question read, Who do you think deserved to replace you? I refused to answer. I screamed, cried, begged, and then the girl floated over the desk. She hovered over me and whispered,
If you won't choose someone, the system will.
Suddenly, Jasmine appeared in the seat beside me, crying. She looked at me and said, You said you'd die for this degree. And then she started bleeding from her eyes. Her mouth stitched itself shut. The paper in front of her burst into flames. I sobbed.
No! Take me! Take me!
It all stopped. The fire vanished. The classroom disappeared. I stood in a cold, sterile hallway. A door opened. Inside was the dean, except his face was paper, flat, smiling too wide. He said,
You passed, but now you're on staff.
I looked down. I wore the same clothes the ghost girl wore. A red pen sat in my pocket, and on the desk in front of me, a new student sat, face pale, eyes wide, breathing fast. Now I watch them every semester. They come in so tired, so desperate. They think it's just a library, just a test. But I know better. Every blank bubble costs a piece of you. Every answer you don't know, the building feeds on your memory. I whisper the rules they can't hear.
Don't look at the girl. Don't take the red pen. Don't forget who you are.
But no one ever listens. And the exam never ends. I never wanted to join a sorority. But when you're a transfer student trying to make friends at a massive university like Whitmore, you cave. Capital Delta was beautiful. Greek columns, ivy-covered walls, the faint floral scent that seemed too perfect. But the moment I stepped in, I swear, the house exhaled. The sisters were all smiles, too symmetrical, too rehearsed. Then this girl, Emma, I think, brushed past me during the tour and whispered,
Don't let them take you downstairs.
When I turned to ask her what she meant, she was gone. Like, gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. There was this soft chanting, like humming, but weirdly synchronized, coming from the floorboards. I followed it to the hallway, barefoot, heart racing. Then I heard a right behind me. When I turned around, nothing, except every photo in the hallway had the faces scratched out. The next night, they took us to the pledge room. Everyone was blindfolded, candles, low whispers, cold floor. They said it was a purification ritual. But something brushed my neck, cold, wet, breathing. And then I heard a girl scream. But nobody else reacted. They just kept chanting. Emma found me the next day, terrified and shaking.
They killed her. They said she failed the ritual. You have to leave.
Then she lifted her shirt and showed me something carved into her skin. I looked it up. It meant dark oak. I made up my mind. I was leaving. But on my way out, I heard it again. The humming, stronger, coming from the basement. The door was open this time. I should have ran. But curiosity got the best of me. I took one step down, then another, then the door slammed shut. There were masks, animal bones, candles, and jars of what looked like blood. And in the middle of the room, a stone slab with someone tied to it. I crept closer. It was Emma. Dead eyes, wide open, mouth moving like she was trying to scream without sound. Suddenly, the sisters emerged, all of them in long black robes. They formed a circle around me.
We don't recruit.
The president said.
We replace.
Emma wasn't dead. She was next in line. And me, I was the offering. I bolted, pushed past them, climbed up the stairs 2 at a time. The door wouldn't budge. Then suddenly, Emma's voice inside my head.
Run and they'll follow. Stay and they'll beat you.
I smashed the window and jumped out. Woke up in the hospital, broken leg, disoriented. But I was alive. I transferred out, moved 2 states away, changed my number. But last week, a package came. No return address. Inside, a Capital Delta pin and a note.
You made Emma bleed. Now it's your turn.
I turned to the mirror. My back was bleeding and carved into my skin. After I saw the carving, those Greek letters, everything changed. I told the doctor someone did this to me. They looked at each other like I was crazy. They said the wounds looked self-inflicted. Said I must have blacked out. They even brought in a psych eval. But I knew the truth. I didn't do this to myself. They did. The sisters. I moved in with my cousin Raven. Swore off college altogether. Tried to sleep, tried to forget. But the humming followed me. soft, almost sweet, always at 3:17 a.m. Raven never heard it, but my nose would bleed every time. I started waking up with bruises, tiny punctures on my wrists and ankles like restraints. One night, I woke up in the hallway outside my room, barefoot, door locked from the inside, and I was holding a candle, still lit. Raven said I was sleepwalking, but then she found something behind my bed, a small pin. Kappa, Tau, Delta. I tried to research the sorority, dig up anything online. Every search ended in a 404. Even the school's website had scrubbed their name. It was like they never existed. But I remembered. I remembered the cold hands, the chants, the stone altar. So I started drawing what I saw. Symbols, faces, the room beneath the house. The more I drew, the worse it got. Nosebleeds, seizures like shaking. Then I woke up with dirt under my fingernails, like I'd been digging. A week later, I got a text from Emma's number. No words, just a video. It showed her crying, alone, in a locked room. She held up a sign.
She's inside you now.
Then the screen glitched, and the last frame was me, sleeping, in my bed, wearing the Capital hoodie I swore I burned. The next night, there was a red moon. Raven had gone to her mom's. I was alone. At 3:17 a.m., the humming came back, louder now, like it was circling the house. Then the TV turned on by itself, static, then chanting, in Greek. I tried to unplug it, but it wasn't plugged in. I ran to the front door, deadbolt jammed. Windows wouldn't break, I was sealed inside. And then I noticed it, a door, at the end of the hallway, one I'd never seen before. It was slightly open. The humming came from behind it. I should have left, should have screamed, but my feet walked on their own, like they knew the way. It wasn't a room, it was a staircase, going down. Smelled like mildew and copper. The walls were pulsing like skin. At the bottom, candles, and standing in a perfect circle, the sisters. Their eyes were sewn shut, but they faced me. Emma stood in the center, blood-soaked, whispering in Greek. I screamed. They didn't flinch. She pointed to me, then to the slab. My body froze. I couldn't run, couldn't cry. Then one of them stepped forward. She pulled something from her robe, a key, held it out, said one thing.
Return or remain.
That's when I understood. They weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to make me choose. Either go back, become one of them, or stay down here forever. I don't remember how I got out. Woke up on my cousin's porch, mud on my legs, blood under my nails again, and the key in my hand. I threw it into the river, but some nights I hear the door open. Not in my house, inside me. My nose bleeds, my wrist aches, and every time the moon turns red, I hum.